Welcome, everyone. Welcome to our webinar entitled How Open Software-Defined Automation Delivers Value Across Industries, Part 3, Use Cases. Today's webinar is sponsored by Schneider Electric and Automation.com, a subsidiary of the International Society of Automation. I am Renee Bassett, Chief Editor of Automation.com, and I will be your host. Industrial companies and infrastructure facilities are increasingly interested in modernizing their automation and control systems to reduce costs, more easily monitor and maintain distributed assets, and better secure their systems. Compared to traditional process automation systems, new system designs are becoming more modular, flexible, and scalable by decoupling the control logic from the physical devices it runs on. Open software-defined automation solutions, such as Schneider Electric's EcoStruxure Automation Expert, make it easier for industrial users to transition to a more agile, digital way of operating. Today is the third installment of our four-part series on open software-defined automation. And today you get to hear from and ask questions of our two very distinguished guests, Andre Babineau from Schneider Electric and Daniel Roberts from the City of Conroe, Texas in the USA. Today we'll cover what open software-defined automation is and how it differs from traditional control systems. We'll also cover how this new paradigm addresses the challenges and concerns faced by industrial infrastructure facilities worldwide, what it took to modernize the automation infrastructure for the City of Conroe water plants, and the benefits the city realized after phases 1 and 2 of its system upgrade. In addition, what's next for phase 3? We'll also cover resources and other support that you and others can expect from Schneider Electric and EcoStruxure Automation Expert. We'd like this to be an interactive session, so following the discussion, there will be a question and answer period. Please take a moment to find the questions icon in this GoToWebinar interface so you could submit your questions. They will only be seen by me and our speakers, and I will ask our speakers to respond to as many as possible while keeping the overall presentation time to 1 hour. Questions not answered will be responded to via email. This presentation, including the Q&A, is being recorded. There is also a link to additional resources located under the handouts icon on your screen. You can download that at any time. Now, let's get started with our speakers. All right, welcome, gentlemen. Please introduce yourselves.
So I'll start, Daniel. So my name is Andre Babineau. I'm from Schneider Electric, working in the Industrial Automation Division, and I'm the Country Director for Canada for Open Software-Defined Automation.
And my name is Daniel Roberts. I'm the City of Conroe, Texas, Water and Sewer Superintendent. I've been with the City of Conroe just over 20 years now.
In part 1 of our series, we discussed the evolution of automation and control systems and the two separate but related aspects of this new paradigm, open systems and software-related automation. Andre, can you start by defining for us what each of these is and how the combination differs from what we find in traditional systems?
Absolutely, and one of the key elements in the open software-defined automation, or two key elements, I would say. The first one is really decoupling the logic from the physical hardware. So really, we're decoupling the logic that we need to run in our devices from the actual hardware. So there's no tie in between the two. It's like basically separating your brain from your body kind of approach. And really that approach to software defined is a key enabler for openness and to be able to go further. And talking about openness, that's the other key element that open software defined leverage is the standard driven ecosystem. So basically all the solution is really driven based on standard that everybody can use, making this interoperability and portability possible, that remove this tie-in or this lock-in into a specific vendor. And if we look at open software defined, obviously we bring this hardware independence, we do bring this digital continuity across the life cycle of the system because we leverage software or IT solution to bring data from the inception, from design to engineering to operation and make it that cyclical so you never lose data and you have straight visibility where you can leverage your IT system through AI or other types of application. And the last one that's unique to the solution that Schneider offers is really this application-centric design, where basically now you look at your plan holistically and you design fully your control strategy in one space that is not tied to any hardware limitation or constraint, because as you remember, we're decoupling this hardware and software. So now you have a big canvas to really design what you need to go do, and that design remain yours, a little bit like a playlist. Even though you change your phone, your playlist is still available no matter where you go, and that's exactly what we're trying to do with open software defined automation.
Thank you very much. In the second webinar in our series, we talked in depth with Andre and Sarat Molakasima from universalautomation.org. Andre, can you summarize for the audience what universalautomation.org does and how Schneider Electric works with them?
Absolutely. That's part of the ecosystem to be open. And really, universalautomation.org is a nonprofit organization dedicated to develop a shared runtime environment with the vision of open automation that they can offer to all the members of this nonprofit organization. And those members can come from manufacturers and user to academics. And all of them are working together to provide this shared runtime to all the community in the market to really extend that portability and that openness. So UAO plays a critical role in that openness, in the contrast to traditional approach where a single manufacturer develops their single runtime engine, and then only it will work with that vendor solution. So really we're trying to expand, and that's what how Schneider participate and be a member of the UAO uh, ecosystem, and we want to continue to expand this because we really believe in it. An EcoStruxure Automation Expert is an open software-defined environment that leverage that runtime that is provided by UAO. So we can offer also compatible hardware to that solution, but we use that universal runtime, giving back the power of choice to the customer to select the hardware and the architecture they would require. Another thing that we do provide from an EE perspective really is a cyber secured by design, which is unique in the market because it's a brand new offer. It was designed from the ground up to make sure that all those transactions are fully cyber secure versus trying to set a perimeter around the control and automation system to make it cyber secure. So that cyber secure by design is recognized by TUV, and we're certified, and we're the only system to be certified to the standard IEC 62443 security level 2. So that's a unique also proposition that EE can provide.
Excellent. Thank you very much for that context, because what's happening now with open systems is really important, and it definitely applies across industries. Industrial facilities, no matter what they process or produce, face similar challenges. And so what we want to do most today is talk about how and why open software defined automation is being applied and how it can deliver value to an organization. And that's why we've invited Daniel. Daniel, can you tell us what were the challenges that the City of Conroe was facing regarding its water infrastructure operations?
Sure. The City of Conroe has had automation equipment at our water plants for several years now, but it was really limited to a single provider. So the City of Conroe staff, in essence, was at the mercy of that provider. We were basically locked out of our own system. And if that initial provider or installer wasn't available when we had an issue, then we were just waiting on them to arrive to address the problem. And as that went on for multiple years, we ended up with more and more problems just stacking up on top of each other, and more and more failed systems inside of our water plants.
That sounds like quite a problem. What were the criteria or driving factors for the new system that you were looking for? And also any constraints in terms of timeline or how urgently urgently this needed to be changed.
Yeah, so as Andre mentioned, and the reason we chose this equipment is because it was a more open software-defined automation. Our staff has now been trained with this instrumentation. We can get in there and do some programming on our own. Um, that's a huge reason why we chose this equipment is so that we weren't just nailed down, as I mentioned before, to a single provider or the initial installer. If we can't figure it out on our own, Schneider has a great team that's helped us obviously along the way and has continued to provide support. But even if we decided in the future to go with another programmer or installer, which we don't plan to, but we have that option. We can.
All right, that's quite interesting to hear you, Daniel. If I may, Renee, to ask a question to Danielle. We discussed a little bit the EE values earlier, at least I presented them. And as you executed the project, obviously you were presented to a lot of different things from Schneider, trying to provide you the best solution. But which one really become evident in the execution of this project? And did you find any additional benefit also that you not necessarily planned for initially?
So the greatest benefit, I guess, is being able to have real-time remote access to all of our facilities. In the past, with the failing systems and the problems piling up due to not being able to have them fixed and addressed in a timely manner, we were really reliant on either having to go to the facility to address an issue, or unfortunately, we were relying on our customers to notify us when there was a problem.
Okay. Good. In the real implementation, did you face any issues with our solution? And maybe there's things you want to help us improve the solution. And I would really like to know and help our viewers, how much did it take and how complicated was it to get the system up and running, and who was involved and how long did it take to implement this whole solution that you just did?
Sure. So in the beginning, when we first started looking for a new automation software system, we involved not just the field and operation staff, which is where I work in. We involved our city engineers and outside electrical engineers that work with the city closely. We wanted their input and to make sure that they were comfortable with whatever equipment we decided to use. And we reached out to Schneider because we've had a long-standing relationship with Schneider Electric at the City of Conroe. We have a lot of their MCCs and panels in all of our facilities, not only at the water plants, but our fire, city hall, just all of the city facilities have Schneider equipment inside them already. So we reached out to our local Schneider provider and just asked them, what do y'all have? What can y'all show us? And that's how we were introduced to EAE. And as I mentioned, our electrical engineers were involved in this decision-making process. City engineers were involved. And once they got a look at it and they were introduced to the open software automation definition, that they were on board. They thought it was a great idea. Everybody's been happy with it along the way. And as far as implementation, in the beginning, we did have to work with Schneider's team to go out and identify all of the existing equipment and the existing infrastructure that was inside the water plants. And that basically involved opening up the cabinets that were existing and are still existing at the water plants and getting the serial numbers and model numbers of the cabinets to make sure the proposed equipment would integrate with the existing. So we didn't have to replace everything inside the plant, which saved a lot of money and time. We basically pulled out the brain, if you will, of the legacy automation equipment, and we inserted the new EAE brain. All of the same panels are still there. All of the same wiring is still there. It was a very small change for us, so that saved us a lot of time and money.
Daniel, about how long would you say it took from that first investigation of the site to when you had an operational system?
So we identified 4 of our critical water plants, the ones that are kind of on the outskirts of town or maybe at a higher topography than other plants, where they're kind of standalone water plants, where if they go down, we're really in a bind. There's no other way to get water there. So we identified those 4 critical plants and we moved forward with phase 1 of the project. So identifying the equipment in those first 4 and coming up with, building this project from the ground up, those first 4 plants took about 8 months from initial identification of existing equipment to having the equipment installed and running. Was about 8 months for the first 4 plants. And there was budgeting time frame involved in that too. We had to take this to council and get approval and get funding for it. So not all of that 8 months was design and construction. But prior to that, after those first 4 were online and we were comfortable and happy with the way things were running, we moved forward with the remaining water plants, and that was another 15 water plants that we started in phase 2. And since we already had basically a copy paste script to go on, those phase 2, those next 15 plants only took 3 months.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Now we have all 19 water plants up and running on the EAE system, and it's working very well.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's great. Well, so now that you're operational, what are the benefits that you've been seeing?
Obviously, the biggest benefit is being able to identify issues at the water plants. If our pressure is dropping or if a motor doesn't come on when it's supposed to, tank levels dropping, the system is alarming us and notifying of those problems before the tank level gets to a crucial point, or the water system pressure gets to a crucial point and begins impacting the customer. So we can remote log in, whether we're here at the office or after hours at home. Our operators can remote log in on their iPad and identify and hopefully address the problem again before the customer is impacted. Not to mention that having all this information, just remote access, makes our day-to-day a whole lot easier.
Can you be more specific for me about how it makes your day-to-day easier, day-to-day or week-to-week?
So before, with our failing systems, our failing legacy systems and lack of support, basically, we would have to go out to each individual water plant to collect the daily data. That's how many hours each motor ran, how much chemical we pumped, how many gallons of water we produced. We'd have to physically go out and mine that data. Now, when we come in the morning, it's here on the computer. We just open it up and all of those run times and gallons of water, chemicals used, system pressure, it's right there ready for us, just waiting on us in the morning. And again, as far as ease of operations, when we do get a call, for instance, from a customer in any area of town and maybe they're experiencing some low water system pressure, for instance, we can log in and make sure everything's okay at the plant while we're en route to address the customer's issue.
Well, that's helpful.
Kind of gives us an idea if there is a larger issue or if maybe it's just a smaller issue, a localized issue in the neighborhood or subdivision, wherever they're all coming from. We can log in and make sure it's not a larger issue at the plant while we're en route.
Mm-hmm. That's incredible. It sounds like you've got a much more bird's eye view, almost a much more comprehensive view of all of your operations.
Yeah, and like I said, the system will alarm us if there is an issue. I mean, we're looking at it in the mornings and in the afternoons to make sure all the levels are where they're supposed to be. But in the interim, when we're not actually logged in, if something happens, like the tank level is supposed to be at 40 feet and it's dropped down to 35 feet, the motor maybe didn't come on, it's going to send us an alarm and tell us, hey, something's going on, while we still have 35 feet of water in the tank.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that'll give us, several hours to troubleshoot the problem.
Absolutely. Well, that sounds like phase 1 and phase 2 have gone quite well. So what are your next steps for what happens next for your water plant?
So we're working on we're in the early design phases of phase 3 implementation that is automating our documentation. Like I said, we have to document how many gallons of water we produce from each water plant every day. That's the most important thing. This there's state required regulations. We have to report how many gallons of water we produce and how many pounds of chemical we use, that type of thing. So we have already had meetings with Schneider team, and they are working on a program where when we walk in the morning, all of that information, that very important information, will be sitting on the printer waiting for us. So we can just pick up the sheet and we're still going to do an overview of the plants to make sure everything looks okay, but there will be no more clicking of a mouse to extract that data.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be sitting here waiting for us when we arrive at 7 a.m. That'll be huge. Currently, we're spending 4 to 6 hours a day, 1 to 2 operators mining that data that we have to have for reporting purposes.
Mm-hmm.
For the system to automatically produce that documentation and have it waiting for us in the morning, to where that 4 to 6 hours can be spent out in the field doing actual, maintenance of the water plants. That, that that's going to be huge, and we're really looking forward to that.
That seems really nice. Daniel, what advice would you have for users who are considering a similar upgrade or who are where you were many months ago? How to get started or what they should look out for?
Well, like in the situation we were in, again, being nailed down to that single provider and not having access of our own to be able to learn and do our own troubleshooting was it had us extremely handicapped and at the mercy of whoever the installer or provider was. So I would suggest to anyone looking to get out of that type of situation, there's so much technology available these days. Um, our goal is customer service. We want to make sure every customer, when they turn on the water faucet, has adequate water supply, and this equipment will help get you there.
Mm-hmm. Well, automation definitely changes the world, and automation of the people who run the operations can be that much more helpful. Andre, I'd like you to give us some more context. Daniel's given us a great example of what's happened at his water plant, but can you tell us if the City of Conroe's process of selection and implementation is typical of what Schneider sees with other customers?
Great question, Renee. Thank you. It was interesting to hear Danielle to talk about is documentation or data. And this is basically a foundation that we heard from different customers that digital continuity is unique and provide extreme value, as Danielle was describing. Come in the morning and I don't need even to open the system. I have all the data, all that information ready to go, allowing me to plan my day. So we've heard that from other customers, but also, other features we've heard from other customer is, and Daniel mentioned it a little bit, is yes, they did buy hardware from Schneider Electric, obviously with the software, with EcoStruxure Automation Expert, but they know if it comes to a point where they need to change the hardware, they will be able to select a vendor of Schneider or different. So that is also a key element where a lot of our customers found at one point they need to hit that brick wall that we call the rip and replace brick wall, that now you have no choice. There's no more product available for the solution you have, and you need to replace everything, not only the hardware, but also the application. And in this case, now we let the application run as we separate the brain from the body, as we explained. That's a key feature that our customers are typically raising for us. The other thing that we see is from inside from younger engineers, how natural and intuitive this new platform is compared to traditional approach to automation. Because we've changed a little bit the way how we program things and how we bring more IT technology to this environment, and makes it so much easier now to bring new blood to this automation industry, which we know we're in dire need, and our customers also uh, facing that challenge of workforce.
Daniel, can you give us any insight about how your technicians and others within your company accepted the new systems?
Sure. So, like I mentioned, the City of Conroe has had automation equipment in the past that was provided by a single provider, and we were kind of locked out of it. But this software, this equipment, along with the project, for the scope of the project, we were provided with hands-on training, uh, not only out in the field at our water plants, but also at Schneider's facility, at Schneider's office. We went to 2 days of training where they took us into the programming, took us into the logic of the software and the equipment, and showed us how to troubleshoot a programming issue with, say, a booster pump motor or a well pump. For lack of a better example, we can now go in and do our own troubleshooting, and we're getting more and more comfortable with it. But at this point, we're still a little dangerous. We don't like to get too deep into it. But so a lot of even our older staff is open to it. It makes everybody's life easier. But I will say a lot of our younger staff, this technology is kind of familiar to them, and it's very user friendly. So even our older to our younger staff has been very open to it. The more we learn how to use it, really, the easier it makes our job.
Excellent. Great to hear that. Um, Andre, I'd like to get back to you and see if we can have a couple other examples of different industries that have adopted this approach to automation.
Certainly. There's two that comes to mind. The first one in energy and chemical with Shell. In the context of evolving workforce and the need to accelerate digital transformation, Shell has begun to transform their automation in their facility by deploying EcoStruxure Automation Expert. At the beginning, it's really transforming their legacy control system to an open hardware independent automation architecture, which is a key component in the Shell selection, is have this hardware independence. And they started small with non-critical application, but they tested the whole thing to make sure EcoStruxure Automation Expert will meet the need of the future. And they really took their time. And one of the things they find out is the great benefit, although the engineering was a little bit simpler, it was mostly in the maintenance and the troubleshooting of any challenge that they were facing. They could find the exact reason quite rapidly compared in the past where they needed to go and travel in a lot of different places. This event-driven solution allows them to find the solution quite rapidly. So it reduced the engineering costs in that respect. Same thing for maintenance. And also another benefit that we talked on the side is leveraging the capability of simulation. So basically, as we said, by decoupling the hardware and the software, they can develop their full strategy, test it with the built-in simulator, and making sure it's perfect before they start deploying and buying hardware and making sure they're ready to deploy it to field. So it's a little bit different approach. It changes a little bit the project execution. But Shell's adoption of open software-defined automation does reflect a strategic shift towards more scalable, portable, and interoperable solution for the future. Another example, totally different type of business, is DHP Technology. They're a leader in modular solar roof system, and they struggle typically to deploy their solution at a greater pace because they needed to reconfigure and do everything every time. Now with EcoStruxure Automation Expert, we provide them a lot more flexibility and a lot easier and faster commissioning, and it's just easier for them now to scale their solar panel depending on the application where they're modular, so you can add. But doing this in the past was a total reconfiguration of that brain, if you want. Now, as we're separated, they can do it and they can embed it as they want and can scale it. That Jan was mentioning, it's easy to, if you have repeatable application, just to copy and paste. It's as simple as that. So that's what really DHP has done. And basically, they've seen 50% faster configuration on the commissioning and the engineering side of things. So that's really a key element that brings also a great competitive edge to DHP.
I'd like to make a comment to that,
Absolutely.
to what Andre just said too. Since we do now have the basic design platform as built for this equipment and the installation process, we have 4 more plants under construction and design here at the City of Conroe currently,
Wow.
and many more over the next 5 years. The design factor is done. We're going to copy paste this to all of those new water plants. And for field staff to have the exact same equipment at every water plant is truly extremely beneficial. If one piece of equipment goes out at water plant 7, it's the same piece of equipment that's at water plant 15. And we can keep the exact same spare parts on the shelf. That type of familiarization will make everyone's job smoother and easier.
Excellent.
That's a great benefit. I hadn't thought of that, but that makes a huge difference. I definitely see how your work life, Daniel, is being streamlined. It's almost like having extra people on staff with automation the way it is today.
Yeah, it really frees up existing staff's time, as I mentioned before, to do maintenance critical items at the plants.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Well, we're just about at the end of our time. So are there any thoughts that either of you'd like to add before we get to questions from our audience?
Certainly, I may add a few things. We talked a lot about our solution, EcoStruxure Automation Expert, and how it brings you towards the future, and how it helps you to keep your total cost of ownership a lot lower by owning this IP over time and being portable. But also, all of this is great technology, and yes, in the case of City of Conroe, we were with City of Conroe to really sure we make the best decision. But really, there's a change, right? And I'm sure Danielle's seen this. We need to understand that's a change management. It's a new solution. It's not the same way we used to think about automation, because decoupling that brain from the body is really unique. So there's an aspect of change that need to be accounted for when you start planning your project. And definitely, we're here to help you any change management in your team to make sure that you achieve the best with the solution. But that's something to keep in mind in your planning. There's a change aspect that should not be neglected.
Yeah, and I'll say we recognize that it was a significant change, and anyone looking to make a change, I'll say again, you're not alone in that decision-making process. Involve your engineering staff. Even reach out to someone that maybe already has this equipment, like ourselves. We've had several guests come in that were interested. They heard about it. We have City of Victoria coming in next Monday to take a look at it.
That's great. That's great.
Thank you for hosting them. That's nice for us. Appreciate that.
Yeah, we get lots of requests for tours of water plants, a lot of times from schools and things like that. So this is something we were used to, and we're happy to share with anyone that's interested.
Well, that's great. Well, we're glad you're sharing with us today, and we certainly want to get some more questions from our audience. So let me set up to do that, and then we will field some more questions from them. Thank you so much, everyone. As we're setting up to take questions, I want to remind you that there is a questions icon at the top of the screen. So you can submit your questions to Andre and Daniel, and we can keep the conversation going from here. We have had a couple come in, but please do take the time to give us some more. We'd really like to have them. All righty. Let's see what we have. Our first question is, Daniel, can you share more about how the system supports remote operations and whether you had to change any instrumentation or sensors out at your water plants to facilitate the remote operations you talked about? Oh, we're muted, Daniel. So let's see if we can get your voice back on here.
Maybe while we're waiting for Danielle to unmute, maybe I can chip in from a Schneider perspective here, Renee.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
So from a remote operation perspective is definitely we continue as the offer grows and the demand is growing as well. We're expanding our solution to the different type of market we're addressing, and remote operation being one of them. we're deploying now this EcoStruxure Automation Expert into our series of remote terminal unit that formerly known as CATOPAC. So that can be also bought with EE to leverage all this functionality that Daniel was talking about. So we continue to expand those solutions to the different market to leverage this distributed architecture capabilities of EE. Do we have Daniel?
Excellent. Daniel, did we get you back in?
I think so. Can you hear me now?
Good.
Yes, I can. Excellent.
So I did hear the question about how the system supports remote operations. Again, like I mentioned previously, it's extremely beneficial for our day-to-day, being able to access any of our water plants from wherever we are throughout the day, either here at the office or out in the field, at the plants, in the system, or after hours. We do get calls sometimes in the early AM timeframe, and it's extremely helpful. Again, when we get those calls, even if our operators are after hours at home, they can log in and see what's going on at the water plants, in the water system. And our biggest goal is to get those issues addressed before the customer's impacted.
Great, thank you. Another question we had was a little bit more information about cybersecurity. Maybe Andre, you could elaborate a bit on the cybersecurity considerations that are built into EcoStruxure and what you were able to give to Daniel and City of Conroe.
Yeah, definitely. And thank you for that question, because it's an important topic, as we all know, cybersecurity, especially in critical infrastructure like water. It is a key element that we need to be fully aware of. So cybersecurity was a concern from the ground up when we developed EAE. And basically, it means that from comparing to all different solutions, even our own Schneider solution, that cybersecurity is fully embedded in all basically the transaction that you don't necessarily see when you use the tool, but it's really unique. And it's unique to a point where we're the only solution in the market today to be following the standard 62443 security level 2 that is approved by TÜV. So we have a unique proposition, and compared to, I would say, to most of the solution that we see in the market, instead of having kind of an envelope to make it cybersecurity, any of the automation, basically it's fully embedded in all transactions. So quite different and a lot more cybersecurity, I would say, for the future, and bringing us to the future in cybersecurity as well.
Great, thank you. This question is about apart from the domain of the application, what are the key differences between SDA and IntelliWeb?
That's an interesting question. I'm not sure what IntelliWeb means in this
Okay, maybe
context.
too specific for us here. That's fine. What can you tell us about how the EcoStruxure automation may have, how it compares to the legacy systems that came before it?
Can you repeat here? I'm not sure.
Okay, we may have to answer that question offline. That would be fine.
Okay.
I'll go to the next one. We'll answer that question offline. The next question that we have is, excuse me, let me just key it up here. What about, this question is for Daniel. What impact did the solution have on engineering time and cost? You said a little bit about it earlier, but can you quantify it in terms of hours or percentages compared to what you did before?
Sure. As I mentioned previously, the initial design and scope did take some time to create, but now that we have it, and we're able to just copy and paste what we're using currently at all 19 water plants. When we like the next 4 projects that we're currently working on in future water plants, that part, this part of the engineering is done in essence. We were just going to copy and paste this into every blueprint, every as-built moving forward. You know, there will still be some time, obviously, creating the pages, but as far as coming up with the logic or the actual as-built, if you will, or the blueprint itself, we're going to put this into every water plant moving forward. So there's really no scope that needs to be created. We have it now, and we're going to continue using it in all of our future facilities.
Excellent. This question is about for the future. Are there any concerns or challenges that you see down the line with regard to how this system will adapt and evolve as time goes on?
I mean,
or how you can adapt and evolve using
yeah,
the system?
well, we are planning. Well, let me start over. We are asking for funding to add maybe 1 or 2 additional staff members that are strictly like programming type folk, because my guys are all field and operations, and we want to continue to learn how to use the software programming script logic that's available to us, so we don't have to call somebody in every time a little lightning storm rolls through our area and maybe takes out a piece of instrumentation at a water plant. So that's one way we are trying to evolve with the logic and with this equipment, is to have in-house staff that can do those minor repairs, and when we bring a new water plant online, we probably still have to have a Schneider technician come out and help us with the programming, but we'd like to get to the point where we can basically build these graphics and be able to go in and perform this programming solutions on our own.
That's good.
Andre, could you say a little bit about what Schneider offers in terms of support and training to customers like Daniel's? Particularly in terms of, we mentioned a little about the initial survey that you did, but also what else is available in terms of support?
Absolutely. First, we always have our local team that obviously Danielle definitely reached out to their Schneider representative to start the journey with EcoStruxure Automation Expert. But obviously there is more to it than this. We do offer regular session on our platform that are instructor-led, where basically you can register and then follow the course that's going to be online with an instructor to really go more in the in-depth and understanding of EAE and to really understand what it is. But also we have a lot of different, I would say, short take to explain in different short videos, if you want, to explain some of the functionality that you can go and search for. And obviously in our library, when you log in into Schneider Electric, we got all the documentation, standard documentation, that everything's online. And by the way, that's one thing with EE, all information, all documentation is fully online and readily available whenever and whatever you're doing. So there's multiple areas where you can start to learn and continue your journey or start your journey with EcoStruxure Automation Expert and really explore what open software defined automation can bring to you and your organization.
Yeah, we're hopeful too, as we move into what we briefly spoke about earlier, phase 3 of this project, getting the automated documentation side of it, pulling the data out and having it sitting on the printer waiting for us in the morning. That's going to free up several hours a day for our operators who are currently extracting that information. So once we have that phase 3 complete and that automated documentation side is running, then we plan to have our current staff take advantage of some of those training opportunities and to learn more, continue learning more about how to use the full function of this equipment, everything that's available to us.
Daniel, it sounds like you had a lot of on-the-ground benefits that you see from using this system. Did you have any challenge with essentially selling up or getting your management to agree to this transformation? Or do you have any advice for somebody else who's got to do it?
We were pretty well supported up the food chain, up the ladder here at the City of Conroe. We were pretty fortunate to that aspect. Obviously, there was a substantial cost to installing this equipment, but not having to go in and replace all of the existing panels in the MCCs really kept our costs down. Mm-hmm. And the one of the legacy controllers or the brain of one of our legacy equipments that we were using prior to this, that controller was about 5 times more expensive than the controller we're using now. So that helped sell this project. When we had to replace one of the old controllers, it was in the $5,000 to $7,000 range, and the controller we're using now that Schneider recommended and is handling all of our equipment and has additional room for future growth inside the water plants, this controller can do more than what it's currently doing. It was $1,000 controller. That might not work for everyone, but it worked for us, and that helped sell the cost of the project. We didn't have to replace everything inside the water plants. We were just replacing key components, and one of the main key components was much less expensive than the one we were previously using.
That's important.
Pretty good.
And one of the reasons I think why we were supported too is because of our legacy equipment was failing. There were a couple unfortunate situations that we experienced here at the city where a water facility went down, and because we didn't have an alarm system or remote access, several customers were impacted, and the City of Conroe had to issue a boil water notice over it. So our city council actually was very involved. They wanted us to find something to make sure that didn't happen again. And that's kind of the situation we ended up in because of the legacy equipment failing and the issues compounding on top of each other. It led to much larger impact to our customers, a negative impact to our customers. And unfortunately, that one incident led to a boil water notice, which no water system wants to run into.
Absolutely. Well, we're just getting to the end of our time. I would like to address a question to Andre about getting more information. When people are looking for additional, either to get started or to keep going, where should they go and to get more?
I would say first, always your Schneider representative, as I said, and that's exactly what Danielle and his team did. And obviously, our Schneider site is definitely available. And you can go and learn, as you see on the screen now, for some specific regarding open software-defined automation. So you'll see some of the videos in the introduction, what does it mean and what are the benefits. So there's some of those information that are available on the web. And also, as we talked a little bit about the ecosystem, universalautomation.org, also an ecosystem and promoter of that salute where EcoStruxure Automation Expert is based on. So definitely you can reach out to them as well. They're a nonprofit organization that can basically guide you to let you see what are the benefits of open software-defined automation. So you can definitely reach out to any of these sites and collaborate directly.
And I just want to mention from our side, as I mentioned at the top of the hour, that this is the third part in a series that we're doing with Schneider Electric on open software-defined automation. And so through Automation.com, there are there is part 1, as we described, and part 2, where we get a little bit more into universalautomation.org, who's got a lot of good information about this new paradigm that people can find and see. And I want to let folks know on the call today that specific links to those earlier webinars will be in the email that comes back to you, but you can also find them through the webinar tab on Automation.com. We did have one more question come in, and the caller wants to know is, are there any examples of using SDA for building automation? And if so, what might be the competitive advantages in that application?
That's an excellent question. And we have multiple branches in automation, and obviously building automation is one of them. And currently building automation with some of the requirements, for example, the one that comes to mind is the protocol that's will use in this field is BACnet, is not yet available on EcoStruxure Automation Expert, but it does not prevent us to integrate a lot of HVAC type solution into the building automation. So we're already participating in the building, but not fully into the extent that we will be, because all these things is something that will come over time. Right now, for example, we expanded into grid automation. So really we're now having controllers that can control the grid for, I would say, microgrid type of application. So we're expanding the range of application as we continue to mature the offer in the open software-defined automation. And the benefits, just to give the example of HVAC. In HVAC, you often have drives. As we know, we have the drive directly leveraging open software-defined automation and runs into the same environment of EE and can be fully configured the same way and seamlessly integrated in the solution. And that we see a lot of benefit, and the customer that using it sees a lot of benefit because now you can see fully the information from your drive remotely. You can diagnose it, you can change it remotely. So there's a lot of benefit in that integration. So as we say, we continue to expand, and more will be present in the building automation as well.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much, gentlemen, for an excellent discussion today. It's been a pleasure talking with you. Is there anything you'd like to add before we close? We'll start with you, Daniel.
I'll just say again, if there is anybody that would like to see more of our system, we are happy to share it. Maybe if you're not local, we can just set up a Teams meeting and we can screen share.
Excellent.
Excellent.
That'd be
Thank
great.
you, Danielle, for that. And if I may add a little bit, is as we've talked about, this is really an integration, a new way of looking at automation. And really that should be part of your bigger picture of digital transformation. Danielle talked a little bit about it in talking about how we can get this documentation ready. So basically you can use this open software-defined automation to continue to build the foundation for your digital transformation in any of the plants you may have, as we discuss different type of industry, and we continue to expand the different industry. And I would say, please take the time to reach out to your Schneider Electric representative to learn more about it, and I'll be more than pleased if you want to connect with you and discuss more and how we can really help you in that journey in open software defined.
Excellent. Well, as a reminder to our audience, you can download a handout with the PDF that has those links right there. You can also visit Automation.com for the previous webinars in our series, and look for the 4th and final part of our series on open software-defined automation, which will be coming after the 1st of the year. So thank you, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate our audience being with us today. On behalf of Automation.com, Schneider Electric, and the City of Conroe, I thank you all for your attention. This concludes our presentation.